talk about how we could create a custom agent, which we could actually incorporate into the Salesforce with the help of the Microsoft Copilot Studio, that will be able to actually perform the following operations. So our requirements are, we need to build a production-ready read-only Microsoft Copilot Studio agent. It should be connected with the Salesforce. It should be able to actually grab the following items from the org. So first of all, it's items related to the daily morning brief. So we need to see how many quotes expired, so how many pending approvals we have. Then we have opportunity management. So for example, my opportunities closing that month and wherever, right? Then we have a quotes, account intelligence, case management, lead management, some other object related items. So here is actually our requirement. So how we could actually do it. So we need to jump into the Copilot Studio, and here we could switch to the new experience. So with that new experience, we will get a more simplified way to actually create an agent than it was before. So then we are clicking on the agents, and here we could click on the new button. So instructions that we need to provide into agents to be able to create it as the following. So we need to specify an icon, we could specify a title, so then we could specify here instructions. So instructions, regularly we need to define what is our agent role, goal, what is the scope, what is the tone of response, and things like that. And examples. It's pretty well working with examples. So then we need to decide what should be our model. So at this moment, by default, it's assigned to Cloud Sonnet, so it's pretty well modeled for that kind of tasks. So then we have a skills. So when we are working with the skills, so here you could see what kind of ways to import it. We can import it from the MD file, as it's mentioned here, or we could create it from blank. So when we're creating it from blank, we need to specify name, description, instructions. In instruction, as you could see, it's important to set up the following. So we need to specify description. We need to specify what is our key guidelines, constraint, important considerations, and then we need to provide examples and notes. Examples are pretty important because it's helping our agents to work well. So then we have a possibility to connect tools. So the most important tool for us will be tools related to the cloud tools or tools related to Salesforce. So for Salesforce, you could see that we have individual tools related here, like for example, get record, send HTTP request if you need to integrate with some custom endpoint or REST class that we created on the org. Here we have a different kind of execute SQL query, which is important skill. And if you need to perform any kind of DML operations, we have update record and things like that. Also, what is important, we have here a possibility to actually connect Salesforce as an MCP. So we just click in here and we could connect it from there. Also, we have a possibility to connect knowledges. So when we connect knowledges, at this moment, we have here the following options: public website, OneDrive for business, and SharePoint. So if you need to make sure that your agent understands some business parts related to your company, you could make sure that you created related documentation in SharePoint, and then you attach it here as knowledge for that specific agent. So also you could connect here if required some additional agent and enable memory. Let us jump directly maybe into some example of the agents that we already created. We already created agent for that kind of exercise, and that agent at this moment is connected to one of the UAT environments. So what we actually did, so we specify a name, so we could specify any kind of icon whenever it will be required. And here the main point is to set up correct instructions. So when we're setting up instructions, we need to make sure that we put here a constraint and basic rules. So here, for example, I am setting up that our assistant is read-only, it's only for retrieval. It cannot do any kind of create, update, delete operations. I will show you some another place where we need to limit it as well. So we need to make sure that it will only respond with the Salesforce data, that it will not try to do any kind of imagination. Then we need to specify here instructions how our agent should recognize what it means when user asking about my opportunities or my cases or something assigned to me. So in that case, we are providing instructions how it needs to be done. So then we have some basic SOQL rules, because one of our main tools here will be execute SOQL query, right? So in that case, we need to make sure that it's working perfectly and without any kind of gaps. So in that case, we specify that it should not try to select all fields. It should always put limits. It should use literals whenever we need to grab items for today and things like that. So then we have object reference. That part is also very important, because whenever our user asking about a quote, so there might be standard quotes, there might be some custom quotes, there might be CPQ quote, and there might be tons of them. So we need to specify exactly for our agent what the quote means in order if user asking about the quote. So here we have also response format, so how it should actually understand and what it should give to the customer. It's very important if you would like it to not put a JSON back as a result of the operation. So then we have error handling, we have some fields and object information, so we have a follow-up questions. So we have a tons of different kind of items as well as tone. If you would like your agents to sound like a professional, so you can specify that specific tone. So there are much more. So there are a lot of instructions that I'm specifying in order to make sure that agent will work perfectly. One more advice from my side will be if you're specifying instructions, so please make a note in those instructions what kind of skills agent need to use when, because those instructions actually the main item which is agent always keep in mind. So then we will jump to our instructions and our, sorry, not instructions, but skills. So whenever we are looking into the skills, so we could take here what kind of skills, for example, I created for each of the topics which was mentioned in the requirements. So for example, daily morning routine, or for example, some other items. So I put them as specific skills. So for example, account intelligence, so that means that to be able to handle any kind of tasks related to account, I'm specifying here what should be the confirmed field set, what kind of filter we really need to use, what should be our query templates as an example. If you remember, it's something important that we need to provide. So then we have some additional information, how to take a look if it closed or not, and things like that. So I am providing a little bit more information plus output format plus guardrails. So all this kind of stuff are really important for us to make sure that our skills actually will be up to date and will give us all the results that we would like to actually get at the end. So then when it's turned to the tools, as you could see, I decided to add the following tools. So I have a get record, get object types, execute social, execute SOQL, object tools, MCP server for Salesforce. So when I'm working with MCP server, as you could see at this moment, I'm disabled all of these get opportunities, get leads, get accounts, all of these items I actually disabled because I have my own custom instructions, what kind of objects need to be grabbed, what kind of fields I would like to have. So that's why I did not introduce, like those additional items in the basic MCP server. So I literally don't need it. Plus one more important topic. So guys, whenever you need to enable MCP and work with the tool here, so you need to make sure that actually on the Salesforce site you have that MCP enabled. For that, you are going just to setup, you are finding MCP, and you are making sure that your MCP is actually enabled. So there will be a bunch of MCP. So you will be able to see read-only MCP, you will be able to see all objects MCP and things like that. So it depends on your use case. So then, as we touched already briefly, we have a knowledge, we could connect it whenever we need, and we have a memory. So in general, that's all what we need to configure. And let me show how, for example, I handle it in the JIT. So in the JIT, I handle it by different kind of files. So for example, I have skills. Each skill is actually sits in a separate file. So it's easy for me to do any kind of changes if it's required and then upload it back to my agent. So it's pretty easy to handle. So all skills are actually here. So then I have instructions. So in instructions, I have my system instructions. So system instructions are very basic information about what I already showed to you, right? What is a constraint, what is the current user resolution, and things like that. Plus, I have here something called org schema config. So that org schema config is actually allow me to specify objects and fields related to it with the percentage of the usage, right? How many times it might be required. And here I am providing information about objects. So it's pretty important because what I notice that when I try to actually test that specific agent, I find out that it's actually trying to create its own queries. It's trying to put some fields which sounds logical for him, but sometimes those fields are actually not exactly what we need. So also here what I have my solution design. I have my tool access control. So what kind of tools we need to specify with which access. So all this is actually documented here. Plus I have here one important file which is called testing. So testing prompts which are actually helping to test my agent and make sure that it's working fine. So here you could see that in terms of account intelligence, it will be able to show me all accounts related to specific area with their open opportunities, or it will be able to show me all cases which are actually handled by me or kind of other objects, and even handle complex tasks. Like for example, give me my daily Salesforce summary. So in that case, it will do whenever it's required in my case. So it will go grab opportunities, account, open quotes, and things like that, and will give me comprehensive report with how it's look like. So also in some another agents that I created some time back, I also connected a little bit different skills. So another skills actually were related to the situation when I need to actually visualize some data, and the data need to be in report. So in that case, I use it those kind of items like data visualizer skill. So in that case, as a part of the data visualizer skill, I'm in here instructions what kind of API I would like to use, what it should be our concentration rule, and how our final chart should look like. So in that case, I was using quickchart.io, and it was working pretty well. So let me also show you guys how, for example, we could test an agent. So for example, we specify all this kind of stuff. So we could click on the publish. And when we're clicking on the publish, we from here could decide whenever we would like to actually publish it. So we could publish it into website, a demo website, a web application, or we would like to put it into the Teams. It's also possible. We could just put that checkbox here, make it publish, and it will be available in our Teams. But to be able to test it, here we have a different kind of functionality. So for example, evaluation for us allowed to upload CSV templates with the content and formatting and make sure that our conversations will pass it. So then we have a monitoring for us to be able to take a look how our users are actually working with an agent, specifically when we enable reactions. And then we have a preview. So in the preview tab, we could actually do a testing of our agent, and our agent will be able to actually give us information from our, like notes. So for example, if you would like to take a look my leads by source, if I have any, it will give me that information. So from my end, I don't believe that we have any, but let us take a look how it actually works. So you see that when we in the basic system mode, so what it's doing, it actually explains us what it's exactly performing. So it performs some specific SQL queries. We could click on those queries. We could take a look how it's actually organized and what kind of the processing is actually behind it. But if you would like to take a look how it will look like for the user, in that case, we are enabling user preview. So for user, it will look like that. So the similar that agent will work with any kind of other requests, which we could grab from this document. In your cases, it might be your specific test cases, so I will not deep dive into it. It will be more related to your specific use cases, but in general, that's all. So once you're done, just publish it and it should work fine and correctly. Thank you guys for your attention. Put some likes, subscribe to the channel, and see you soon.